What's up, everybody? So I got an awesome card that I can't wait to show you. So I started asking myself, well, who are the most popular players today? Is it Chris Bryant? Is it Bryce Harper? Is it Mike Trout? But before Bryant and Harper, who was the most famous, most popular player before that? Maybe it was Derek Jeter. And then before that, it was Hensley Mullins. And then maybe before that, it was, wait a second. How'd you get in there, Mullins? Maybe before that it was Donnie Baseball or Nolan Ryan. And then before that even, there was Mickey Mantle and Willie Mays and Hank Aaron. But even before those guys, there was guys like Babe Ruth. But even before Babe Ruth, there were great players, most like popular players like Wee Wee Keeler and Ty Cobb. But even before those players, even before Ty Cobb, in the late 1800s, there was a guy that I'm really excited to show you here. Is brand new, added to my collection. It's the 1888 Goodwin champions, King Kelly, who may not have been the greatest player of the 1800s, but was clearly the most popular player of the 1800s and might be the first baseball star. First star in baseball. This actually, just to give you a little bit of background, this is an 1888 card, so it's reflective of his 1887 season when he signed with the Boston Beaneaters. A year where he hit like 84, where he had 84 stolen bases, which, by the way, I mean, you got to take that sort of with a grain of salt. I mean, there are stories of him, I guess, like back then, there'd be one umpire, and there's like stories of him stealing third base from first base. So in other words, just completely skipping second and just running right across and stealing third base. So when they say like he stole 84 stolen bases, you got to take that with a grain of salt. They didn't even have statistics back in, like, literally they didn't have statistics. If you look at 1885, if you look at his statistics, in fact, 1885 or before, there's no stolen bases. Like, they didn't even track stolen bases until like 1886. So he had just gone from the Chicago White Stockings to the Boston Beaneaters for back then, which was a like unheard of amount of $10,000. And you have to sort of keep in mind that, back in that day, like, it wasn't until 1874, so a couple years earlier, like, there were no baseball players that had even gotten a salary, let alone a team paying $10,000 for one baseball player. The only thing I could compare it to was when Babe Ruth was sold from the Boston Red Sox to the New York Yankees back in 1919 for $125,000. But this guy was, in terms of popularity back then, he was huge. I mean, there was a song called Slide Kelly Slide, which, according to the records, I don't know if I believe it, but it was America's first pop hit song. The guy was a trickster. He was, I guess, on the bench one time, and I guess the rule said at the time was if you want to substitute for a player, all you had to do was announce yourself. So a foul ball gets hit towards the bench, and he just yells out, now catching Kelly for Boston, catches the ball and makes the out. So, like, those are the types of things that he did. I guess he played as hard as he drank. A.G. Spalding, who was the owner of the Chicago White Stockings while he played, had somebody follow him around and basically caught him at a saloon at 3 a.m. drinking lemonade. And it got back to King Kelly, and he was like, there's no way I was drinking lemonade at 3 a.m. at a saloon. It was definitely straight whiskey. So he didn't deny the fact that he was at a saloon at 3 a.m. It was just the fact that he was like, there's no way I was drinking lemonade. I was drinking whiskey. He was crazy. He almost drowned himself in the Ohio State River after a loss due to overexertion. Again, drinking whiskey, jumping into the river. The guy died of pneumonia at the age of 36 years old, which is obviously a really young age. So it's sort of like a tragic story. He had so much potential, and he was this huge popular figure back then. But he was also, a genius for his time. I mean, he's credited for sort of inventing the hit and run, inventing the hook slide. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1945. So just such a cool card. And just as a comparison here, I actually took a card here. This is a card from the 1887 Old Judge, and I just wanted to compare the two. I mean, look at this. Look at this card. I like. Sometimes I'm wondering, like, what is it about these cards? Like, why aren't they more popular than they already are? I mean, if you compare it to this card looks like it could be from 1988. I mean, it's an unbelievable card. Just to show you guys, also, I wanted to show you the back, which I thought was also kind of fascinating. And there's like a little bit of a crack here in the case here. But the card is in fantastic condition. I guess there was 8 baseball players as part of the checklist. And you can see here the Cap Anson being one of the other big cards from that set. And then you have bicyclists, billiards, chess players, jockeys. And the other fascinating thing about this particular set is that it's the first football card. So a guy named Harry Beecher, the captain of the Yale team, is credited that card is the first football card ever made. So that's kind of a really cool fact about this particular set. So I don't know what else to say, guys. I just think this is one of the most amazing cards that I've ever been able to pick up. I think it might actually be my favorite, like immediately my favorite card in my collection. So just wanted to share that with you guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please feel free to comment. Like I said, this guy, King Kelly, the more I dig into his past, the more I learn about him, the more fascinating he is. He also acted in plays, I believe, and wrote his own book. So, there's probably a lot more to learn about him. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Obviously, an unbelievable card. It was graded authentic. I heard, basically, I got back from the seller that the card didn't meet the minimum size requirements, which is why it doesn't have a grade. It would be interesting to see if I can get PSA or SGC to actually give it a grade, which would significantly increase the value of this card. But either way, one of the most amazing cards I've ever seen, and it's unbelievable, this card. So hope you enjoyed it, and feel free to leave comments, like, dislike, whatever, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks.